Good afternoon, everyone. You know, it's nearly 5 years since I first watched since I was first told about it and forced to watch it a couple of weeks after being told about it. And I think probably like so many people, my first reaction was to find out what was happening in the case. So checked on the internet. Some of you will recall that back in 2016, Stephen Avery was the 5th most Googled name of 2016. People were so keen to get the latest information. I came across some uncomplimentary cartoons in the images section, and of course I managed to find a phone number for the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department, and having an email address for them, and having sent about 24 emails to Sheriff Herman. In one of them he thanked me for my concern, and I phoned him up. And I think he was hoping to try and change opinions by coming across as being, you know, calm and sort of almost laissez-faire about the situation. You know, making a murderer has made Manitowoc look bad, but life carries on. You know, we've still got jobs to do, and we're still going to carry on with what's happened. He certainly didn't change my opinion. One of the things he actually did was he criticised Making a Murderer for including the sexting scandal by Kratz. He asked me if I thought that was appropriate of the filmmakers, and I said, well, at the time I thought, well, maybe it doesn't have that much to do with the case. You know what Ken Kratz got up to 3 years later. But as you find out more and more about him, you realise that that's exactly the nature of Ken Kratz and his ethics, and therefore totally relevant. And of course it was rather bizarre that it was Robert Herman that talked about the fact that there were Facebook support groups. I've been in a few of them for a very long time. I don't tend to go there quite so often anymore. In fact, just recently I did leave the main one. I realised that, unfortunately, sometimes when I was posting stuff to do with a video that I'd done, it was never getting approved by a moderator. And it seems to be full of just new supporters who maybe don't have that much of a knowledge of the case, which is a shame, because I think for new supporters, getting a YouTube video is a great way of gleaning a lot of up-to-date and useful information. Certainly, it was thanks to the Facebook support groups that I found Ericozy. And having found the dude and having made contact with him, it wasn't long after that obviously Stacy Seabrook, who was busy doing his brilliant songs about the case, and I always remember talking to the dude about how to encourage other people to do videos, and he even put on his kilt in order to do that video, and I'm sure he would have done it happily again, because as a result of that video, Mark Hoddenett got in touch and sent us his very first video, where he talks a lot about checks and balances that should be there that aren't. You know, it's very important that we talk about Stephen Brendan, talk and sing, you know, until they are set free. As I say, together with the dude, encouraged the proliferation of YouTube channels, and I am not even going to attempt to list all of them. There have been so many YouTube channels started up, groups that have started up looking at this case. There was just so many. They are all different, of course, and they all bring something different to the table. You know, they're all unique. They're all each person's or each group's individual take on what's going on. Funnily enough, when I was when I was a youngster at school, I was not a renowned reader. I used to have to be pressured into reading. Very rarely finished a book. Just didn't really have much time for that. I was too busy going out doing sporty stuff, etc., music. So it's quite ironic that one of the things I've done since, well, 2017? No, 2016, I correct myself. My daughter gave me Michael Griesbach's book. Obviously, she didn't know The Innocent Killer was actually a complete waste of time in the last third. The first 2 thirds were excellent. So I've been reading non-stop, as you probably know. Literally loads and loads of books about the case. You know, what have I got up there? Well, as I said, there was The Innocent Killer by Michael Griesbach, the Unmaking a Murderer by Sean Atwood, which actually isn't in my collection there at the moment because it's on loan to a pupil. Got The Wrecking Crew, Innocence Betrayed, Illusion of Justice, Blind Injustice by Mark Godsey. Unfortunately, got an email from Mark. He'll not be able to make it this Wednesday. He was hoping to make it Thursday. That's also fallen through. So I wait to hear from Mark Godsey. I've got, obviously, there The Cadaver King and The Country Dentist. Murder in the Bayou, the book that Zodiac Killer, the sighting on the Zodiac that Jerome sent me. And upstairs I'm reading Police Interrogation and American Justice by Richard Leo. And I've got on order the book by, I think it's Michael Caccini, The Bizarre Laws that were in play in Steve's case. So anyway, as I say, read a lot of books. And I think that's a great way of getting information. The dude also, well, he didn't read a lot of books. He listened on Audible a lot of the books. I've also been, as you know, to many presentations. And obviously myself, the dude, the Hard, and Stacy had a great time in Australia. It was well worth going. It was even worth the stress and the drama of the dude trying to sort out his passport, which was just legendary. And I would definitely recommend people, once the COVID outbreak is under control and you can go to shows, to go along. You'll get some great synopsises of the case. Although obviously at times a lot of the presentations are geared towards people who watched Making a Murderer, enjoyed what they watched, if enjoyed is the right terminology, which is not, but you know what I mean. It piqued their interest and they want to go and meet and see the people involved that they saw on telly. So sometimes the information there is just really going over what happened and reminding everybody, you know, some of the, if you like, the best bits of Making a Murderer. You'll always get a clip of, you know, who shot her in the head, Brendan? Oh, he did. Why didn't you say that? I couldn't think of it. You'll always get that at every Making a Murderer presentation that you go to, because it's one of those, shall we say, iconic moments. Ups and downs. I got the sense that you've got two clients, Steve and Brenda. You've got two sets of lawyers. At times, I'm not sure about how their sort of professional relationship, how good their professional relationship is. But I don't know. it was a major disappointment, to say the least, that right at the time when Kathleen Zellner had listed Stacy Seabrook songs on her own website, you know, the songs about the case that Stacy had done, Stacy and Mark had offered to the Stephen Laura, when we were in Australia, that Stacy could, you know, just for a little musical interlude, either at the beginning or the middle or maybe at the end, you know, just to do a couple of his songs, one or two of his songs, and they weren't interested. You know, I actually got in touch with them and said, you know, could we meet up? You know, having travelled halfway around the world or even further, you know, it would have been nice to have had a chance to meet up. I got the rather unpleasant reply of, you know, simply, what are you doing here? You've already seen the show. What are you doing here? You know, I don't mind admitting, you know, a photo opportunity would have been brilliant. It would have been really nice. But then you wonder if, from the lawyer's point of view, were they concerned about us treading on their toes and trying to steal their thunder? I don't know. Maybe there's something in the contracts of these people when they go abroad that they have to, you know, only do the sort of publicity side of it that the people that are promoting the show put up. But as I say, it would have been nice to have had a, you know, just a chance to meet up with them in person, as it were, and not within the constricts of the show, particularly having, as I say, travelled such huge distances to get there. So as I say, that would have been nice. But as I say, I do get the sense at times that they don't want us to steal their thunder, because they are the stars of Making a Murderer, and they don't want people coming and you know, treading on their toes, as it were. Another of the downs is having to deal with the guilters and the haters. Some are guilters, some are haters. Some clearly have a vested interest in the case. They have you know, more than a bit at stake here when it comes to the case, as you've probably noticed by the fact that Ken Kratz has so many profiles that he tries to use. And as I say, you do get haters, people who will even, you know, they want to try and stop us talking about the case. That's what they want. And in order to achieve that means, some of them get very, very personal, which is ironic, because, you know, for me, it's not really personal for me at all. And I don't think for many people. You know, as I've said all along, I'm not here to try and undermine Wisconsin government. I don't wake up every morning, you know, trying to think, well, what can I do to really undermine law enforcement in Wisconsin? That's not what our community is about, as far as I'm concerned. Another thing, I said this to Robert Herman, you know, I won't be gloating. I won't be gloating when Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey are released and fully compensated. I won't be gloating about the multi-million civil suits that will need to be paid by Wisconsin taxpayers. But I certainly hope and trust that those responsible for this framing and wrongful conviction will be held accountable. And I feel that we're getting very much further on down the line. Is it a train or is it a roller coaster? It's a bit more of a roller coaster, I would say, Stacy, rather than a train. It's been hugely up and down. And one of the things that, of course, Making a Murderer has done has shown how those in power in Wisconsin have basically made a martyr out of Stephen Avery. Some people would use the term that, you know, he's the sort of patron saint of wrongful convictions. And I know some people aren't too keen on that because, you know, Steve was never a saint up until his arrest for running Sandy Morris off the road in 1985. But did he deserve to do 18? Did he deserve to be framed and receive a 32-year conviction, which was, you know, he ended up doing 18 years of that for running Sandy Morris off the road, you know? Don't think there's any doubt why the Sheriff's Department wanted to, you know, why Tom Koshurik said, you know, I don't care if you did it or you didn't, I'm going to get you for it. It was clearly because they were fed up of Steve and his antics, and running Sandy Morris off the road was something that they considered that they were going to take matters into their own hand, and they were going to be the judge and jury and make sure that he was put away for a long, long time. As I say, we've never held up Stephen Avery as a saint. And as I say, for me, it's not as personal as it is for others. I've never spoken to Stephen Avery. I've never spoken to Brendan Dassey. I got a message back secondhand from a great supporter who simply said, look, you know, Brendan's got your letter. Thanks very much. You know, and that made my day. That really did make my day. And I don't expect any more than that. Particularly as nowadays there are channels through likes of Mark and obviously through Pete Dassey that we're able to find out what they're, you know, what they're saying, what their sort of news is, if you like. And obviously I will celebrate their release as much as anybody else. But I think what we'll celebrate more is the fact that, you know, for other people outside of Manitowoc and Calumet and even Wisconsin, that this case will discourage others from framing somebody and wrongfully convicting them. I think that's going to be the big thing that we can celebrate, is the fact that, you know, much as we want to see Steve and Brendan, you know, released, Steve go back to his mum and dad, you know, from that sort of personal point of view, you know, we want it for Steve, but we also want to see justice being done so that it sends that message: do not, under any circumstances, do not anybody else attempt to do this, because the results are disastrous. But I suppose one final thought would be, and this is only a partial thought, you know, what if I could do a deal with the architect of the universe and swap Ziggy and Denise and the dude, and say to the big fella, you know, you do with Steve and Brendan and those in Manitowoc that framed and wrongfully convicted the pair of them, you do what you need to do, you know, give us back Ziggy and Denise and the dude. Having said that, as I said, that's only a partial thought, because I know that those three would want to see Steve and Brendan fully exonerated, fully released, and those that were responsible for putting them there wrongfully in the first place dealt with sufficiently harshly. Anyway, as I say, it's been a quite a sort of roller coaster, as it were. But it's very important that we keep on talking about Steve and Brendan. And it's interesting how opinions do change. Probably the classic example of that would be Mark Gundrum. He's now a judge with the 2nd District, Eastern District Court of Appeals. You know, and there's that classic line of him in Making a Murderer captured, where, you know, he says, you know, whilst, you know, morally you want to, or legally you want to give Stephen Avery the benefit of the doubt. Morally, it's impossible to do. And I think he's regretting that kind of statement, because I think that was just a political statement. And I think people are beginning to realise that how much they were duped, not us being duped by Making a Murderer, but them being duped by Ken Kratz and co. You know, that the shocking press conference, twisting of everything, lack of investigation, planting of evidence, fabrication of evidence. As I say, hopefully Making a Murderer will discourage others in other counties and in other states. You know, they'll think twice about doing something similar. Anyway, we'll catch you all again soon. As I say, let's keep talking about Avery. Let's keep talking about Brendan Dassey. Let's keep talking till they're set free, because it really does matter. Okay, bye for now.